He said which team can be a good fit for Isaiah Thomas if he comes back, or if they let him come back, because he should be in the league.
And I mean Philly.
Any playoff team really.
Any playoff team. I'm gonna shout out Ball Don't Stop again. You know, that's literally my favorite IG page and one of my favorite podcasts. But he made the point. Every team is gonna need that guy who can come off and get you a bucket. So you look at New York. New York is a perfect example of that. Alec Burks isn't like he's not like a 15 to 20 million year guy, but he's a dude who can come off the bench and give you a ton of offense. You're gonna need that shot creator off the bench. I remember when Dion Waiters ended up going to LA a little bit before the bubble. People talked about why he was a big addition to that team is because he can give them another shot creator coming off the bench. If you bring in Isaiah Thomas, if you're Philly, you don't really have that level of shot creation off the bench that I think is going to take you to the next level. They don't have that level of shot creating at all. So why not take a swing at him? You're not going to pay him a bunch. He'll be an MLE guy for sure, but he definitely needs to have a spot in the league. Like I mean, you have 81 points in a pro-am game. And I know like his last couple of seasons haven't been great, but I don't think he's been given the sufficient amount of time to make that comeback like we've seen some other guys have. So I really don't understand why Isaiah Thomas doesn't have a spot in the league. There are a bunch of guys that I also am watching in the summer league, and I'm like, why is this guy in the league, or why has he been in and out of the league at times? So it's like, it's confusing to me. It's disappointing.
I think part of the reason may be that he's a defensive liability.
But it's a lot of players that are.
It's a lot of
work. Not as bad as I love IT, but not as bad as him.
Yeah, and it's a lot of.
He is 5'8" though, but
yeah, it's a lot of whack defenders, and also this, how much. I don't think we're asking for him to come back and be a starting point guard.
No, we're not. But I mean, you're still gonna have to play some deep.
Yeah, but is it that bad to where he shouldn't be? Is his defense the difference between him not being in the league or not?
I don't think so. I'm just thinking, trying to see what some GMs are thinking.
Well, you thinking this is
GM?
True.
Yeah.
Fair.
The general manager.
Yeah, I think the league is missing on Isaiah Thomas right now, and I definitely don't think they're giving him the sufficient amount of time to develop. And you think about his last great season, and his last season of like relevancy in the NBA was was with Boston and was one of the best near MVP seasons we saw in a while. Like before this recording, we talked about how tall these dudes in the NBA really are. Like we talked about how we're walking down the street and we see a guy who's 6 feet tall. He's gonna look tall to us. He's gonna look tall to me because I'm 5'7". But now we see Isaiah Thomas, who's 5'11", putting up 30 a game. So that's abnormal stuff. So he's clearly one of the elite scorers in the entire world. So to see him not have the spot in the NBA, to me, I think the NBA is definitely missing on it, and I think fans want to see him play. He had a really, really short stint in New Orleans where he wasn't amazing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That was, bro, my problem with New Orleans for that, they did that for like a publicity stunt to me, because honestly, they didn't even keep him on the team that long.
No,
so I don't know what that was.
And he didn't do anything bad. Like he averaged.
He literally played. I think one game he had 13 points. Next game he had 15, and then the next one he might have had 8. And then they just. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, what team couldn't use 13 to 15 points a game off the bench? All he has.
I can name a whole lot of them.
Hey, but the Pelicans obviously need him because they suck.
Right. So who knows? But a bunch of teams can use a guy, who can get him scoring off the bench. You're not asking for him to come in and be 28 points a game already.
That'd be nice.
It would be nice, but it's just not going to happen. But you really, I don't know, if you're out there listening, you really have to explain to me why it's justifiable that he's not in the league. This 81-point game, not a lot of people can score 81 points anywhere. We haven't seen NBA players pull up to to like these what do they call it, pro-am games or open runs, drop 81. So that's abnormal stuff, and that is telling you. You said what, Blake?
I did.
Shut up. But we haven't seen anybody do that. It's not great. So yeah, I mean, it was sad to see him. Remember that scene where he was in the locker room crying and stuff like that? That was rough to see. And I do think people just kind of gave up on him, and whenever you see it, it's not like they gave up on him because he had an issue and it was an attitude thing. They gave up on him because of an injury. And that has to hurt. And that goes to show you how much injury affect those guys. I remember a couple years ago, I'm sorry, Carl, I'm cutting you off, but y'all remember a couple years ago when those fans started cheering when KD got hurt in the finals?
Mhm.
That's why that stuff is ridiculous. That's why people don't understand the magnitude of that type of stuff. Injuries can definitely affect your career, and that's nothing to joke about and nothing to make fun of. So we're seeing
mentally too.
yeah. So yeah, it's sad stuff.
Because from the standpoint of you saying like he had an injury and he's not in the league no more, DeMarcus Cousins had a big injury. He had several of them, and he's a defensive liability, like 100%. Like he can't play defense like he even could. He never really played it, but but I'm saying he never really played it great anyway as it is. He's not really the most athletic person, but now he definitely can't play it. He can't play good defense. He's a liability on defense because he can't move his feet.
He's 6'10" though, bro.
But
but he still doesn't play defense at all. He's still liability.
He's 6'10".
Right. So let me help Carl's point out here. Defensive liability should not be the difference between why Isaiah Thomas in the league or not. Even if you're a GM saying that, I think that's a bad reason to keep him out of the league because there are a lot of guys right now in the NBA who can't defend, right? The biggest thing here is this. Why is I just said, like, what team couldn't use 13 to 15 points a game from a guy who's been in the league for a very long time, who's very experienced and who's a former All-Star? That's just what I don't get. When DeMarcus Cousins, here's the thing about DeMarcus Cousins. Yeah, he's 6'10". Yeah, he doesn't play defense.
But he still doesn't even.
But then here's what he excelled at. He excelled at playing in a role. He got to the Clippers and he did what he needed to do. He wasn't coming in and giving you the stellar offensive stuff that he was doing in New Orleans or in Sacramento. He played his role. He rebounded. He was kind of an enforcer off the bench, made the right plays. Isaiah Thomas has the IQ and has the experience to do that 100%. So that's my thing about it. I don't get why he's not in the league. It can't be defense. So yeah.
That's because that's another. But you were saying like some of these people that's in the summer league that we've seen play like when we was in middle school.
Yeah.
Like like Brandon Knight. Like there's no reason for him not to be in the league. I've never understood that one.
Yeah.
And he like 6'3", 6'4", and he can shoot and dribble.
Yeah.
He has a nice offensive game.
There are a lot of guys who can be valuable off the bench players in the league. Isaiah Thomas has to be like the number one, not number one, but one of the guys we can think about right now. If his story ends up, being that he never comes back to the league or they keep on playing around like this, with him and never give him that time to develop and never give him that opportunity, it's going to be one of the biggest what if stories in NBA history because his MVP season. Yeah, his MVP season, in my opinion, and people are going to hate that I say this. People are going to hate
28 points.
Right, but people are going to hate that I say this.
29.
Right, but people are going to hate that I say this. And this is a hot take. His MVP season, his near MVP season was almost on par with Derrick Rose's MVP season.
Yeah, because in Derrick Rose's MVP season, I think he didn't even average 29 points. He averaged like 24.
And that's
I'm mistaken. And then don't get me started how he won over LeBron. I still disagree with that.
Yeah, but not discrediting Derrick Rose or anything, but you just think about how crazy it is to think of. There's only a couple short dudes in the NBA history who can do that type of stuff. It's Iverson, talking about Tiny Archibald. Those are really the only dudes. Isaiah Thomas from Detroit was a little bit taller than both of them. So, or all three of those guys. So, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, if he never gets that spot back in the league, it's going to be one of the greater what if stories in NBA history, and it's going to be disappointing to see because that year was something you're not going to see in a very long time. You're not going to see a guy that short come in the league and do what he did in maybe the next 10 to 15 years. So he has to get back in the league. I'm not a big fan of the Lakers taking him, because he's not going to be in the rotation at all. So that's my entire thing. But shout out to Isaiah Thomas, and hopefully he can get a spot back in the NBA.
Yeah, I know you're not a big fan of the Lakers getting it, but we need everybody. Just give it.
No, you don't.
We need everybody just in case people get hurt. We don't got luck with injuries.
Oh, disclaimer: I did not score 81. Just saying.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can get Isaiah. Bring him over to the Lake show. Show him how to win a ring. Bring with the real GOAT and not the phony one, Michael Jordan. We ain't talking about that.
We ain't gonna get into that.
I don't think
that
Mike
boy.
Needed,
That boy Mike's in Charlotte.
I don't think Mike needed everybody under the sun to win a ring.
We're not doing this right now. So
anyway,
yeah. Shout out to IT. The Lakers don't need. I want to say this too. They don't need to get anybody else because there's no way.
No, they don't.
There's no way anybody else they pick up.
Everybody.
Yeah, one at a time. There's no way anybody else they pick up is going to be in their rotation. They're already like 9 deep right now. So if you're picking somebody up, picking them up not to play him, and you're hoping somebody gets hurt so he does come into play. So yeah,